Welcome to the first episode of Plot to Go, another film podcast. My name's Jack, and I'm with my co-host.
I'm Owen.
And we're here to just talk about movies and TV. For our first episode, we thought it'd be quite fitting to talk about the films that came out in 2024. Our favourites, maybe our least favourites. I don't know.
We're going to talk about our least
Well,
favourites.
there's some bad movies.
To get Letterboxd open.
And maybe some TV shows as well. Do you want to just kick it off with our top 10 movies of the year?
Yeah.
Should I go first or should you?
I feel like if I go first, we can talk about the films that I've seen, which is there's less of the good films. and then we'll get to you, and we'll actually have like a good list of 10 films.
Okay. Oh, you want to go all 10 at once?
Yeah, I think so.
Not 10, 9.
Oh, wait, that's interesting.
Yeah.
We're
We
starting
can
at
ping
10.
pong. Okay, we'll start at 10.
Okay.
Do you have any honourable mentions? And I guess before we do that, we're going off UK release dates.
Not necessarily.
Or anything we've seen in a cinema. We've been able to see in a
The
cinema.
first time we've been able to see it in cinema in the UK.
Yeah.
Unless you were flying about watching films in other countries, which you were this year?
Not this year, last year.
Okay.
So, like, for example, Poor Things is not on my list because I got to see it early last year.
Yeah, but I only got to see it in March this year, so...
Because the UK film distribution is bad.
Wonderful. Don't shit on them.
Oh, sorry, good.
Yeah,
Really good.
we love the UK film distribution.
Yeah, do you want to kick it off with some honourable mentions and then go into your 10?
Yeah, sure. I was going to say leave the honourable mentions to last because then you'd know they're not going to be in the top 10.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll start with my number 10.
Yeah.
So I have Wicked
Oh, okay.
because I really enjoyed the film, but it's not like, I wouldn't say I'm like the target audience for the film. It's just that I was kind of like shocked by how much I enjoyed it because obviously we watched the trailer and I was like, that doesn't interest me at all. Never watched Wicked like as the musical, and I wouldn't say I've seen that many musicals. Like I've seen Hamilton and stuff. I've seen High School Musical, one of the best musicals. But no, I think Wicked really shocked me. I do think I found it, I wouldn't say hollow, but relatively basic in a lot of areas where it is like kind of the high school drama. I know it's at university, but it kind of does follow suit in that way. And then you have like more of the interesting stuff, which gave me like George Orwell kind of vibes with like people getting snuffed out and they can't talk about things that are true. There's just like a lot of, I guess, misinformation, which actually relates a lot to like the real world. So all of that much deeper stuff is far more interesting, and that's probably why it's in my top 10.
Yeah, it shocked me as well. It's not in my top 10. But I think it's far deeper than it had any right being. I didn't know the story of the musical, only like some of the songs. But yeah, it shocked me at how like relevant it was as well at the time it came out.
Yeah.
With politics.
Yep.
Yeah, love that. I love Wicked being there. My number 10 is Queer, which is very top of mind. It came out literally like last week in the UK.
Which I haven't seen, so I can't contribute to that at all.
I honestly, some of it might be recency bias and some of it might be Guadagnino bias.
Yeah.
Because what a guy. But I truly don't think I've seen a like depiction of loneliness on film as good as this one was. I mean, Daniel Craig's performance is spectacular.
Sure.
I weirdly think he's not going to get the praise he deserves for it because it is muted and quiet. But I sometimes think that those are better performances than the like compilation of guys screaming in a mirror and, you know.
No, those are all the best performances.
It's all the best
That's why they're in all the
performances.
TikTok compilations.
Yeah, it's really like harrowing, and it is beautiful at the same time, but it's harrowing at how loneliness can affect somebody. And I think it's such a really interesting start to like surrealism. It's not at all like Challengers or any of his other movies, really.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, it's not grounded in reality, but you still have Lee, who's Daniel Craig's character, being this like real person, like he's tangible, even if the film around him is like not as grounded. But you have like small little moments of there's parts where his like body splits in two, and he becomes like a ghostly form of himself.
This is
And
not how I was expecting this film to go. What?
but it's like it makes sense watching the movie. Like he's like with a guy in the cinema at one point, and they're just watching a movie, and like him in reality is sitting watching the movie, but his ghostly form like leaves him,
Yeah.
and he like starts like touching the guy's face and stuff.
Oh, right.
Very easily being like, this is what he wants to be doing, and this is what he's doing, and the surrealism kind of ramps up a little bit more towards the end. But it's all still like quite easy to understand. I don't know. I really, really loved it. And the writer, Justin Kritzky's, who wrote Challengers, spoke about this idea of unsynchronized love. Because people were saying it was unrequited love, like the movie's about unrequited love. But they were saying, no, unrequited love is just stalking, which is an interesting viewpoint. But they view it as like unsynchronized, so they do love each other, but their love is not like compatible. Like they love each other in different ways.
Yeah, which is how like a lot of relationships fail, because people still love each other, but it doesn't kind of match up in the way that they both wanted to.
It's gorgeous. It really, really, really is gorgeous. And it's helmed by such beautiful performances. I don't really want to say.
Yeah, I don't want any spoilers.
Stuff more about the ending. There's a few scenes at the end that like really have stuck with me. That I feel like if anybody's seen them, they'll know what I'm on about. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful movie.
Love that.
Yeah,
I've heard so much more about that film than I thought I was going to.
Sorry. Still worth a watch. I didn't spoil much.
It's funny. Some of my lower down films are films that I enjoyed a lot, and that's why they're in the top 10. But I'm not gonna be able to like talk as much about them because I actually don't remember them all that well.
I'm the same. Like early on movies.
Yeah. So, for example, I think this might have been May that we watched this. I think you'd seen it before. My number 9 is Monster, which I thought was excellent, and it's a film that's about a lot of like different perspectives, and it's like kind of like Anatomy of a Fall, where like you don't really know what's going on, and you don't know kind of who's to believe until like later on in the film, where things start to like uncover, which was excellent. But aside from that, I can't remember a lot of what was happening in the film. I think it's a vaguely queer story from what I remember.
Yeah.
Like based on like kind of the ending of the film. But yeah, I just remember really enjoying it, but not being able to express why I enjoyed it that much.
Do you remember the ending? I feel like the ending's stuck with me. It's somewhere in my list as well.
This is like the ambiguous what has actually happened at the very end. Because I remember talking about that at length, I think. Because we were like, no, but because this happened, surely like this is what happened, but you kind of just don't know. Yeah.
I was literally looking back in my diary. I'd watched it 4 days before, and then I was like, there's nothing in the cinema, let's go watch this again.
Yeah. Well, for you,
for me, one of those movies that like I finished and I was desperate to rewatch it because you get these different perspectives, so suddenly you understand the movie in a whole different light.
Yeah.
Whereas the first time you watch it, it's like you feel a completely different way. I actually think even like now, even though it's like months removed, you will still find that rewarding, like rewatching that.
Oh, 100%. Watching it a second time, you're going to know the actual events of what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so you get to look at it with that perspective.
My number 9, I don't think you saw it either, is The Wild Robot.
No, I didn't see Wild Robot.
Which is so fair. The first thing I've wrote about this is the trailer was bad. Like, flat out bad. I didn't really want to see this.
Any other animated film ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, but like, it just looked very basic, the story it was going for. So I kind of dragged myself to see it one day because it was getting such good reviews. I was like, well, okay. And yeah, I was crying. I cried twice.
Shocker.
Yeah, definitely. That's a sign of a good movie. I don't cry at all at movies.
Yeah, Jack never cries at films.
Do you know what? It is such a simple movie. Like, the trailers aren't lying in that regard. It is very by the numbers, I guess. But the way it's executed, the stunning animation, it's so feel good as well. Like, it's sad and it's also sentimental and joyous. Like, you're literally just watching a robot teach a goose to fly. and
Love
it's
that.
gorgeous. The performances as well, like it being like voice acting, I was shocked that I walked out and was like, yeah, Lupita Nyong'o, maybe like she deserves some recognition for voicing a robot. It
I feel like you pick up on voice acting quite a lot, though. Like, I remember you talking about What If and like in the voice acting in that.
Sebastian Stan's awful voice acting.
Yeah, but like that never bothered me. But that's like really bothered
Really?
you. Yeah. So I feel like that is something that you normally do talk about.
I guess.
Also, why is the robot teaching the goose how to fly?
Because the goose can't fly.
And the robot knows how to fly?
Well, the robot is meant to assist humans, but their like spaceship goes awry and they end up in the forest. So they learn to speak animal, and they learn animal behaviors. And
Beautiful story.
It's gorgeous. I mean, think about other like animated stories. How to Train Your Dragon. That's the only one that's coming to mind. But like, surely there's others. Like Animal Teachy.
Oh, okay.
Like it's a trope, no?
How to Train Your Dragon. There definitely will be. Animal teaches so and so how to do something.
Yeah, like person teaches animal. Person animal have a affinity for. I guess
Enchanted.
literally, Enchanted.
There's like this animal stuff in Enchanted. There's this little like chipmunky thing.
Oh yeah. Or any Disney princess.
A lot of Disney princesses have an association. Oh, Moana, you've got the manatee, which is like her grandmother or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not wholly original. But yeah, it's just beautifully simple. Really enjoyed it. Your number 8?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of films that you're going to name, you're just going to describe what the film is to me because I haven't seen it. This has not been a good film for me. A good year for me watching films. My number 8 is Robot Dreams.
Oh, I missed this.
Oh, you've not seen this?
No.
So this film really connected with me because I guess I'll give a plot synopsis because you haven't seen this film. Hopefully, it's not too spoilery. There's this whole like relationship with this robot and dog that you see in the trailer. They're like best of friends or whatever, and then this robot gets stuck somewhere, and it means that the dog kind of can't reach him, and so the dog ends up kind of moving on and befriending a new robot, and the robot tries to find his way back and can't, and then so they end up both like two different sets of friends. And at the end of the film, one of them kind of catches the other one, like sees them and imagines kind of trying to like get back with them, and then realize like the best way forward is to just, you know, like move on.
Oh god.
And so it literally is like an allegory for like a relationship, and it hit me right before a breakup. And I had like weird associations with that. Like there was a song in that like relates to my relationship and things.
Oh.
So like it hit kind of hard, like me thinking about it, like having seen it a week after I was like out of a relationship, and so I had this thing to kind of dwell on. And yeah, and also like there's no, as far as I can remember, there's no dialogue in the film.
Oh.
There's just them kind of like humming and hawing a bit like Mr. Bean from what I remember, and then also 2 songs I think which have words in them. But aside from that, it is like just no dialogue, and somehow you watch this 1.5-hour film, it kind of just flies by. So
like properly like silent, like a silent movie.
not a silent film, still got noises and like this, they're walking down streets and things, and you probably hear the water at the beach and things like that. Yeah. But very much enjoyed, very much hit me when it kind of needed to. Very good lesson, I think, of moving on. I would recommend.
Yeah. When I'm sad or when I'm happy.
Both.
Yeah.
I also realised I've probably spoiled the end of that film when
That's
I started
fine.
moving on, but
one of those ones where like the journey's worth it, even knowing the
important,
ending.
I think, yeah, it's not even like a lot of times when you go into things, people vary depending on the film, like how much they care about spoilers.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, I think what matters more to them is like franchises, because you kind of like been following a story for so long. This isn't a franchise film, this is an animated film by itself, so like yeah, you're watching the film for the whole journey as opposed to the destination.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Just like a relationship.
Yeah.
I'm actually really sad I missed it as well. It was one of those ones that had like the independent e-cinema releases in the UK,
Yeah,
and it was like in the cinema for 3 days up here or
Mm.
something. Because you were in London at the time,
I was. Yeah,
so it's like you have a lot more choice.
there was a lot of choices.
Yeah.
I went to the Picture House, the central one.
Yeah,
Is that what's called Picture House Central?
Picture Central. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice cinema.
yeah, very nice. I think it was cheap as well because it was like the middle of the day. Everything's cheaper.
Oh, those like
Yeah.
if you're 20 years old, get a
Yeah, the UK is built for pensioners and students, and I
Yeah.
will spout that for the rest of my life. Like it just is. Things close at 5 and everything's cheaper between
Oh,
like
you're
9 and
so
5.
right. Yeah.
It's wild. Anyway, I won't get into that rant.
No, please, we can clip that. My number 8 is Kinds of Kindness. And what's so funny about this is I'm consuming a lot of like top 10 lists and this kind of stuff at the moment.
Yeah, you've got like bias from other people.
No, it's not featured on like anybody's. And people are like,
Agreed.
people are like, yeah, worst of 2024 and Kinds of Kindness in there, and I will not stand for it.
Very much did not enjoy Kinds of
Wow.
Kindness. So
I wrote a whole video essay on it because I was that moved by it. I think people, I don't want to say people don't understand it, but I don't think they do. I think one, it's like vignette storytelling, and I know that doesn't vibe with a lot of people.
what does that mean?
Like stories, like different vignettes. It's not like a complete story. They're like
Oh,
multiple
right.
stories within the
Yes,
larger story.
3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not even, they're slightly interconnected. They're not interconnected in the way that like the French Dispatch is or something like that. Which again, I know people have issues with that. And it's
Yeah.
one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies.
Oh, I thought you meant Kinds of Kindness, because I was about to say the interconnection is very loose.
It non-existent kind of. It's
It feels like an
RMF
afterthought.
or yeah.
Because he just wanted to tell 3 different stories, and like didn't want to stretch them out over like a film or something. So it feels like maybe he did that and then just kind of
To connect
through
it.
line.
But I don't think people give credit for how they're connected, like thematically. And I think through the name of the film being Kinds of Kindness, you like unlock what the like overarching story's about. Because I don't think it's about kindness at all. I think it's about like the way kindness is perverted and like abused. So like in the first vignette, which is kind of the one that sticks with me the most, is like Willem Dafoe controlling Jesse Plemons, like in that like corporate structure, and he's using like control as a form of kindness. Like, oh, if he does this, he'll rise the ranks and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I know him better than he knows himself.
Yes,
If I do this, if I make him do this, he will be more successful. Yeah.
but that's not kind.
Yeah.
And I feel like that thread, going through each of them. It's been a while since I saw it. I'm trying to remember what the second one was. I know the last one was like cult and like sexual control and
The second
being
one
kind.
had like a kind of, I was gonna say cannibalism. Well, there's like an alien aspect to it.
Oh, yeah. It's like Jesse Plemons. It's like his paranoia
Yeah.
for his wife who'd like disappeared, and that he's like, oh, it's coming from a place of love and kindness, but really it's like still this form of control,
Yeah.
just in a different form. I don't know. I really, really liked it. It's also one of those movies it's not comfortable. It's not a nice movie to sit through, which makes me think, like, no wonder people don't want to sit through like a 3-hour, 3 different stories. They're all fucking miserable. Like, I get that, but I love the way that he was able to create this atmosphere of like disgustingness.
Sure.
And thread it all the way through. Like, he created an atmosphere and it was like perfect for what it was, and what it was awful. But
Sure.
really liked it.
My number seven is It's What's Inside.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I thoroughly enjoyed that. That's one where they had an atmosphere where like I was stressed the whole way through, and it like I think I get too invested in things that are kind of like ridiculous, because people would get stressed with like serious real world stuff with like serial killers and stuff, and for some reason that stuff doesn't like fuss me as much. Maybe it's just like the guy thing of being like, oh, I'd fight them in that situation. But whenever it's like a supernatural, extraterrestrial aspect of something, that stresses me out more. So them all being in like each other's bodies, fucking around doing what they want, I'm like, come on, guys, like stop drinking, like sit down on the couch, just chat, stop being weird, like relax. The editing in that was incredible. Everything creative in that was brilliant. The way that they showed who was like inside the other person's like head. So also a shocker. I think you can have that thing of you shit on films that are like Netflix films, not you specifically. I do.
Yeah.
And I think people do in general because normally Netflix films are pretty rough. Saying that normally they're pretty rough because I think the majority of them are, but then you get all the ones that are like distributed by Netflix that are actually like good films. So for example, Hitman is another one that like. What, that was in a film festival and they picked it up, or
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, I was taken aback by that, especially because that was something that I never went in to watch. We were literally hanging out, and we decided, oh, this film that's kind of had a bit of praise, let's throw it on, and we did, and was just kind of shocked by how good it was. So.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that I kind of wanted to be in my top 10,
right?
But I couldn't like make room for it. Same as you, it's the filmmaking in it is insane, and it's a debut. It's a debut feature film, and it's like so well realized. It's the cinematography as well. Like, granted, you have like the most over the top house to shoot in. Like, you have these rooms that just would not exist in like normal homes.
Oh, sure. I mean, don't they have like that weird basement with like the spiky stuff?
Yeah.
Like, what is this like an art exhibit in the person's basement?
Totally glad that that's in your top 10.
Yeah.
Really good.
It's one of those films as well where this doesn't seem like art housey to me. So it felt like it didn't necessarily belong in like someone's top 10.
Sure.
But like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was brilliant. So that's in there.
But I think your point as well, people kind of dismiss stuff that's chucked on Netflix because there is a reputation for it. Like, that would have done brilliant in a cinema.
Yeah, you think so?
Like,
yeah, that might have caught like word of mouth.
Do you know what I mean?
And like that could have blown up way more than it has. I don't know anyone that's seen it.
Well, a screening where like young people or anybody, but like young people like really invested in this, I think would have been amazing. Yeah.
And we've not had that.
Yeah, that is what pisses me off when Netflix produces a good film and it's like it's in cinemas for a week and also just in major cities.
Yeah, and
then it gets dumped on Netflix, like Hitman.
I like how people are pushing back though. I mean, that was the whole thing of like why Christopher Nolan had a falling out with Warner Brothers, right? It was around Tenet's distribution. Yeah. So, you know, there's some people fighting the good fight.
Nolan.
It's just Nolan. He's on the front lines, and everyone behind him is the film bros.
My number 7 is Anora, which
it feels so low.
I know it feels really low. I couldn't put any higher. And I tried, but I couldn't shift anything else. Anora, I mean, it's like the front runner for Best Picture and stuff, and I'm sure it will be at the top of many people's top 10s. I'm getting a feeling that's up on yours.
I think it's too low on mine as well.
Oh, really?
Like I said, I don't agree with my own list.
Well, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
This shocked me. Like, in a way that I don't know if like an awardsy film has before. Everything Everywhere is like maybe the most recent that comes to mind, where it's like I just wasn't expecting the carnage that was on screen for that.
Yeah.
I went into this being like, it's Sean Baker, who's a filmmaker I love. His films are quite like, they're always like grounded and real, and I wouldn't describe any of them as like haha comedies. Tangerine's kind of funny, and there's elements of the Florida Project, but again, I don't think that's funny.
Not at all.
No. Red Rocket's kind of funny a little bit, but this is like a full-on comedy. And
this is going to be banging.
Truly. Like, I don't know. I just expected like this drama about this sex worker, and it was going to be quite bleak. And you get what? 2/3 into the movie, and it's just a straight up like comedy. I think it's the best comedy that came out last year.
Wow.
I mean,
were there a lot of comedies that came out?
no, and it's really annoying because I think in 2023 I wrote like, "This is it, comedies are back." So we had like No Hard Feelings,
Yes.
others.
That was the one that we really enjoyed.
There was others.
Joyride came out as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. But like silly, slapsticky comedies.
And we've not really had that this year.
No, or they were bad.
Yeah, probably like straight to Netflix.
Yeah,
Will Ferrell films.
yeah. But this genuinely, like, there's a sequence. If you've seen the movie, you know the sequence because it lasts about 30 minutes, and it's just the funniest thing I've ever seen. It's like expertly edited between, what's happening in the mansion and then what's happening in the church. The man trying to make his way to the mansion. Mikey Madison is phenomenal, like a comedic powerhouse, and then also just like the acting chops in like more serious moments is spectacular.
Yeah, especially towards the end of the film.
Yeah,
yeah.
Towards the end, and then the actual ending itself.
The end of the film.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think what he does so great is build up this comedy that you are like really invested in this character of Honora and her little squad that she's with. But like as it goes towards the end, the squad is kind of stripped, and it's just, I cannot remember the guy, Yuri Bozlov. I
do not remember the names.
The guy who and it's basically her and that guy towards the end, and it becomes like just really honest and raw, and then obviously in the final scene, I think that hits so much more harder because you have this comedy and you're seeing her in this comedic scenario, but she's not always comedic. She's going through something quite harrowing. It's played for laughs, I guess, but there's so much like written on her face in those scenes that like you understand her as a character, and then by the time it ends, it's like, oh, like you really feel for her. Sure, all this like funny scenario that she's been through, but it's also really heartbreaking.
Yeah, the film kind of does a 180 in the terms of what's actually happening in the story.
Yeah,
was this girl that's kind of taken on this whirlwind journey of kind of romance, I'd say, up until about the halfway point, and then it kind of completely flips and everything falls apart.
Yeah, and I think that ending hits as hard as it does because it is so light and romantic.
Yeah.
And you do want her to succeed.
Yeah, it becomes like a very fairy tale story for about half the film.
Sure, yeah.
And then that changes.
And it's so funny because you know that that's going to go away. You know that it's not going to like remain happy, I guess.
But you wish it does.
You wish it does. And also I don't think it falls apart in the way that you think it will either. It lasts a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously
That's such a good point, by the way.
What?
That it lasts a lot longer than
you think. Yeah.
Because I think when I was watching it, I was always expecting for like something to like leak through. You'd expect to see problems kind of arise within the relationship, not in terms of like between them, but you kind of hear things about this guy's family or something in the background, and it's all like just kind of glossed over and never mentioned until you get to the point where like it just kind of snaps and then.
Yeah, and the it's not the person who destroys her like fairy tale is not the person that I thought would do that.
Yeah.
Which I think makes it even more sad.
Sure.
Spectacular film. Performances across the board, amazing, and I really hope it gets the praise. Come Oscar season.
So we're down to number 6.
Well,
this is the top of the back half.
Sure.
What's the number 1 of the back half?
Wow, I'm really excited for this.
I have Conclave.
Ooh, very fun.
Which makes me think Conclave's on your list.
It's not on my list.
The way that you looked at yours was like, I don't have it there. No, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Another film I didn't know what I was going to see. I think watching the church kind of be like gossipy. What was it you described it as when we went in?
Gossip Girl meets Succession. Yeah.
Which, I mean, no, but I mean, I've not seen Gossip Girl, but there is like the gossipy aspect to what's going on inside the church. I think it was interesting seeing different factions and what they believed in. Especially because you see Stanley Tucci's character and you see the things that he's spouting, and if you're a good person, I'd argue, you agree with what he's saying at a certain point in the film, and you're like, oh, this is a great viewpoint to bring to the church. And then what ends up happening is you kind of see that he just kind of wants the power for himself, and so like he maybe does believe in this stuff, but he's kind of going about it the wrong way. And there's a lot of that within the film where you believe that there's a stack of like a spectrum from like the worst person to the best person, but every time you kind of work your way up that, or work your way down that spectrum, you just see that everyone kind of sucks until there's one person who actually seems to stand out as being the genuine candidate for leading the church.
Yeah. It's one that, again, I would love to fit in if I could, but yeah, it really shocked me as, again, another one of those awards films that you kind of expect is just going to be like drama.
Yeah.
Like, it's set in the Catholic Church and it's going to be quite dramatic, and then it's so snaky.
Truly.
Like, the tone is brilliant.
Again, it fits into the Anatomy of a Fall monster kind of realm of you find perspectives of things as they go on, which is kind of becoming, I wouldn't say a genre of a film that I like, but that is an area of film that I'm quite enjoying, is going in like not having any idea who's in the right, and
Yeah.
you're just getting like fed little bits of information as you go on.
Yeah.
It does kind of suck if you kind of
Walk away with the wrong opinion.
if you like at the start of the film very much like a character, and then by the end of it you're like, oh well, now I hate them.
Well, Stanley Tucci.
Yeah,
The Tooch.
the Tooch. We love the Tooch.
Gird your loins. What a guy.
Yeah, he's the best.
Can I just include The Devil Wears Prada in my list?
Yeah, you can. I think when I was making my list, I thought about adding that as a joke, because the first time I saw that film was this year.
Oh, that's funny.
So having that at number one would have been, that might be my honorable mention.
That's
The Devil Wears Prada.
As it should be.
Yeah,
Every list.
it should be on every list. The best stunt people, The Devil Wears Prada.
What stunts?
Let's think. Getting in and out of a car on New York City street.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty
Really
bold.
rough. Yeah. And Meryl Streep did her own stunts. My number 6. I have a movie that like has not came out, but I got to see it at Edinburgh Film Festival. I have a movie called Lily's Not For Me. I'm including it because I got to see it this year, and realized it has not had like any distribution at all. I thought it would, given that it like premiered at Edinburgh, but it's only been in a like New York queer film festival, and then it has a release date for some point in the next year. But it's not distributed wide. I cannot recommend this movie enough when it comes out. It's by a man called Will Seaford, and this is his directorial debut. It's in the vein of something like Celine Song's Past Lives, with how like well realized it is for a feature film debut. Like, to give you a brief overview of what the plot is, it's about 3 queer men in the 1920s, and it's about testicular transplants, which, yeah, I didn't know this was a thing.
What?
Yeah, so in the 1920s, to cure themselves of their queerness, men would transplant their testicles with other testicles. Yeah.
Science.
And the movie has 3 queer men that it focuses on, and they all have different views on their queerness. So one of them is entirely comfortable with who they are, does not think that there's anything wrong with them. One of them thinks the same sort of thing, but they live in like secrecy. So they're married to a woman, but his wife is okay, and he gets to do his own stuff and whatever. And then the other guy who is sees it as part of him that he has to cure, and I think he's a doctor in it, or he learns how to do testicular transplants to overcome his queerness. It sounds so disturbing, and it is. It isn't one of these like, it's not one of these cheery queer movies. I feel like any queer movie that is historical is kind of sad, and this
Yeah.
is. Um, but it is so beautiful at the same time. The like synopsis of the film is not what I've said to you. The synopsis is very brief. It's like a man in the 1920s befriends a female nurse in a psychiatric ward or something, um, because he is in there for being queer. The queer man who's like really comfortable in his queerness, he is in a psychiatric ward, and you are following him telling this nurse the story about him and his friend and these other queer men. Um, and it's do you know what? It's beautiful. It's horrible, but it's so beautiful. The relationship that he has with this female nurse is one of like the only queer movies I've seen that's focused on like gay men that or queer men that also give as much autonomy and character to women. Like often I feel like movies that are focused on like queer men kind of dismiss any other like gender around them. It's very much like their story. But this movie follows this female nurse who was employed to like go on dates with this queer man to fix him, and they end up talking, and he shares these stories and stuff, and they have just a beautiful friendship. And over the course of this, she kind of learns that like what's happening here is wrong, and she has her own like thoughts about what's happening to queer men. It's genuinely just beautiful. It sounds like it's one of these historical, sad, not really relevant to our society, like trauma, porny things. But even though it's dealing with testicular transplants, the ideas of like conversion therapy and people being comfortable with themselves it's been relevant since then until now, and there's parts of it that I think are still relevant. Like it's well worth watching to get an insight on like queerness as it pertains to people in society now. It's gorgeous, 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 gorgeous movie.
I have one question about it. And
Uh-huh.
it's obviously not going to relate to actually the film. It's just testicular transplants.
Yeah.
Is that from a dead person?
So I was actually trying to remember this when I was talking. I think it's from lambs or like
Wow.
sheep.
Surely people's bodies reject this.
Like, yeah. But some people don't. That's the stuff that's really horrible to watch. Like it's because you're watching people who are not comfortable with themselves then go through something horrid on its own. So it's just this amalgamation of like disgusting, horrible feelings. But there is beauty in it, which sounds bizarre.
Yeah.
But there is, and it's lovely. Not the testicular transplants. The movie.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Okay.
My number 5 is Honora.
What? So
Shocker.
low.
I don't really have anything to add to what you've already said.
Yeah.
I just went into it, again, not knowing what I was going into. I don't know what I was actually expecting, because, yes, I think there probably was an aspect of me expecting it to be relatively depressing, because it's essentially like a story around a stripper is never going to be something that's happy, probably. But from the trailers, there was a lot of, you could see the comedy in the trailers, so I don't know what I was going and expecting. The way that that's spliced in the trailers is probably like there's a lot more comedy than what there is in the last half of the film. So I think watching that, I'm quite glad of how they held back on all of what was in the rest of the film. I don't know how you'd show that in a trailer anyway, but you only really get to see the first half, and so I think you do kind of go in expecting something maybe a little bit more joyous, which I think is the opposite of what you went in expecting.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen the trailers because they get played about a billion times.
Yeah.
When we go to the cinema, but like, I just kind of tune them out now. I don't really.
Yeah, I do the same thing. But this is going to be banging line. Sticks with me.
Well, yeah.
And there's a lot of just like that they're just living a high life in the trailer. It's just sex, drugs, and rock and roll, really. And then that really is only the first half of the film. So I probably went in expecting more of what we got in the first half and the latter half, but was pleasantly surprised by the depressing mess that came afterwards.
Do you have a favorite scene from the movie?
I don't think so.
No.
I've only seen it once, remember.
Oh yeah, okay.
I mean, you might have a favourite scene straight away, but I think I need to watch things a couple of times for it to actually like...
I just, when they arrive in the mansion, sticks with me so much.
With the mirrors and stuff.
The mirrors?
When the two main characters first get to the mansion.
Yes.
Are you talking about when they come to
Oh.
essentially abduct them?
Yes, that scene.
They abduct.
Yes. Chaos in the best ways. Oh.
Yeah, okay. That is an excellent scene.
Yeah.
With literally using a phone line to like tie someone up.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I wish I could do her accent.
I love how realistic that part is with the why have you done that? Release her. And then he finds out why he's done that and he shouldn't have released her. And then I think the third person does it.
Yeah.
And it just sums up real life where you're like, no, I know better. I've been through this already. And someone's like, nah, I don't believe you. It's like too many cooks in the kitchen. Like if someone does have an authority on something, just listen to them.
So you wanted Honora to stay tied up?
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm on Honora's side. This is like a Karate Kid reading it wrong, like Barney Stinson.
Yeah. Honora escaped.
The good guy lost. I mean, I guess that
it does happen.
Yeah.
She gets the ring.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a win.
Yeah. My number 5 is Monster, which you've already
Lovely.
spoken about. Blew me away.
Yep.
God, like randomly saw it start of the year. I think it had released prior, like we got it later, one of those ones. But
When did we not?
Yeah, exactly.
Unless it's a Marvel movie.
Truly, we get them early. Yes. But it wasn't even something that was like on the awards scene. I don't even think it was just Koreeda as a filmmaker. It's like really held in high esteem. I haven't seen any of his other movies, so I was like, oh, I'll go see this. Didn't expect it to be like this vaguely queer story. I just didn't have any expectations going into it really. As you said, I just love the different perspectives. That's kind of one of those like vignette films, but they're not separate. They're the same story from different perspectives. But I love that. I think you start with a mother's perspective.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain you do.
Because you view her as like this really kind figure, and then suddenly you're like from her son's perspective, and everything she's saying is like taken in a completely different way. And what's so impressive, I've just thought about this, is in a different language, and the fact that we're able to sit here and be like, oh, the kid is perceiving what his mum is saying in an entirely different way than she means, and that's coming through performance-wise, is, so cool. But yeah, those little, like, I think I wrote, like, microaggressions of, like, I can't even remember any of them, but basically making her kid feel, like, uncomfortable with himself.
Yeah.
And then that kid finding comfort in his friend. It's actually really sweet. The start of it's harrowing. But as you get to the kids' perspectives, you're like, oh, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, as we said, like I rewatched it with you because I was like, oh, I know I'm going to see this completely differently. And you do. Like it starts and you're like, oh, I'm seeing the mum's perspective from the kid's perspective while watching the mum's perspective. Like, that was awfully confusing.
No, but the thing is, because I know exactly what you're talking about, that makes complete sense to me.
Sense. Yeah, I just loved it. Like, you think that you're going into a movie initially about, like, human nature and, like, how that trickles down into your children, and it turns into this just lovely story. Beautiful ending as well that we discussed at length at the time.
Beautiful ending that might not be a beautiful
It might not.
ending.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Highly recommend if you've not seen it.
Absolutely. My number 4.
Ooh.
I don't know. I don't think this will be in yours because I think you probably watched it when it released initially.
Uh-huh.
The Holdovers.
Oh no, that was this year for me as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Could still just not be in yours, but I absolutely loved The Holdovers. I think I watched that in March because I was doing the Oscars were going to happen, so I was watching stuff on the run up to the Oscars, and that's just an excellent heartwarming story, which I think is a Christmas film. It takes place at Christmas. I don't know if people would view it as
it's a Christmas classic now.
a
Yeah,
classic.
of course. Yeah.
I saw someone watching it on Letterboxd, and I don't think they'd enjoyed it previously because they don't particularly enjoy like festive Christmas films.
Huh.
And then this time they enjoyed it more, and I'm not quite sure how that kind of like clicked for them. But yeah, it's a film where you've got just three different characters from all different walks of life, and it's interesting to see them kind of clash between each other, and then eventually they kind of move towards actually getting to know each other. It's that I was gonna say enemies to lovers. It's it's that classic people that are just like kind of like have disdain for each other, and then there comes this relationship which is more much more than that. It almost becomes like a father and son relationship. I can't remember what the like kid's relationship is with his family in that film, but I don't think it's a good one.
No, he's abandoned. That's why he's like held over.
Yeah. But they're in like a ski trip or something.
Yeah. So his mum remarries somebody else, and then they leave him to go skiing. So he's left with the people.
Yeah, excellent film.
Gorgeous.
Yeah,
and
it is gorgeous.
It is gorgeous.
You can like see the grain of the film
yeah.
in it, and I think that's what I miss that in films. Films look too clean now, and I miss that sort of like grittiness.
There's a few things I want to jump on what you're saying, but it will feature.
Yeah,
right
it
soon.
will come later.
Yeah. Cool. My number 4 is The Zone of Interest. Which I have a feeling it might be in yours then.
It's actually not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I like the film, but I didn't like fall in love with the film.
Okay.
I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was just my viewing experience, which wasn't a bad one.
Possibly,
just,
no, yeah.
You know, like sometimes you just go into a film and it just like doesn't hit you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was blown away by it. It's something that has stayed with me, and I think this was the first month of the year.
January.
I think. Yeah.
Did you see it? Where did you see it?
When it came out.
Oh god, I would have been in London, but I don't know.
No, did I not see it with you?
No, I saw it myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting, because I imagine you at the screening with us, but obviously you weren't.
That's funny.
Yeah. I saw it when it came out. For it to remain as high as it has throughout the entire year, I just feel like speaks volumes on how much it actually affected me. Like, when I've watched films, I've always like placed it lower than that, because it's like a barrier in my brain. I'm like, this was spectacular, harrowing, awful, because it is so normal. It isn't actually that. I don't want to say it's not that terrifying, because the scenario it is terrifying. You know,
that's the thing that makes it horrifying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You are. I think in a lot of other Holocausty movies or movies about World War II, the Nazis are like you view the Nazis as them. Like, they're very much like villain. Like, you don't relate to the Nazis at all. Like, it's very easy to go in your brain, I'd never do that. Da da da. This, it's like the Nazis are just ordinary people, which is terrifying. That's far scarier, and I think that's what hits you, and then you have to sit with that for however long the runtime is, and just watch their ordinary life while the concentration camp is right beside them. Like, it's a movie I never want to watch again. It really is not something. I don't think so.
So I think this was the thing for me where like I'd heard a lot of that, people being disgusted about the film, and it is a disgusting film, but I think because it's so, I don't want to say subtle, but because you don't see a lot of it, that doesn't have that effect on me. So I would quite easily watch the film again. And I feel like I might need to. I feel like because it's quite slow and kind of casual, like to actually sink my teeth into the film, I'd want to watch it again, to go scene by scene with that.
Fair.
I think the film kind of it relates so well to The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, because it's exactly what you said, of you just kind of follow this like normality. It doesn't do like the us and them thing with the Nazis. It's just like you see it from like their perspective. I don't know if it does that as well in Boy in Striped Pajamas, because you get it from the kid's perspective. Yeah. And so you kind of see like this young soldier that you're just kind of like, is a bit weird, and like his dad and things, and you already know they're bad guys in that film. not that you don't in Zone of Interest, but from the innocence perspective of a child, you kind of do see them as more villains to begin with.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're both very related films, I would say.
I also think it is, like, on a technical level, some of like the best filmmaking I've seen
Sound design.
in a while. Yeah, sound design is the immediately thing that comes to my brain. Like, it's. Do you know what as well? Didn't see it in like an amazing cinema. Saw it in like a Cineworld, and it wasn't on one of them. Like, I'm not dissing Cineworld. Cineworld, I love you.
Oh, my brain went to the Omni. So you said Cineworld, and I
Oh,
heard
no.
the Omni, and then I was like, why would you see it in the Omni?
No. It was like indie movie that's going for the Oscars. It wasn't in like one of the nice screens. It was quite a small screen, and still, the sound design, like it sticks with you. Like that last 10 minutes as well. It's horrifying. Yeah, not a cheery movie, but really good filmmaking. Yes. Your number 3.
No, let's just let you have that awkward moment of saying that as
No.
interest. This is a very good. My number 3 is Poor Things.
Okay, nice.
So this was one that this almost wasn't in my list because somehow I glossed over it when I was like looking at the films I'd seen this year. So I had to bump something out of the list to shove that in number 3. So everything got shoved down to move Poor Things in. Yeah. So Poor Things is my number 3. I absolutely love this film. I feel like this could easily be my number 1. I feel like my top 3 films could easily all be my number 1 films. The performances in it are excellent. Well, Emma Stone's always fantastic. I think we stan Emma Stone on this podcast.
Oh, is this a law? We're writing this in episode 1.
We're going to start writing down the people that we stan.
Okay, our stan book.
Emma Stone.
Emma Stone is the first name in our stan book. Okay.
She's excellent in whatever she's in.
Truly. Great filmography. Like, if you could only binge one person's filmography, hers is... I mean, you've got comedies, like proper like dramas. You've got the best film of all time.
Oh, I haven't seen La La Land. Let's not dwell on that fact. We stand. Just across the board, everyone in this film is great. Willem Dafoe. I stand Willem Dafoe.
He's second in the standard.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mark Ruffalo. I don't stand
I don't
Mark
think
Ruffalo.
Yeah.
But like he's great in this too.
Yes.
That's another film of people taking advantage of people. Which relates to Kinds of Kindness. I think the design in this, like the set design, is excellent. Cinematography in this film is excellent. I feel like I could just rave about it without going into the plot. I don't think I want to talk about the plot. I'd rather just send people into it the way that I went into it, where I was like, I don't really know what this film's about. And then just kind of be blown away by it. Because it doesn't feel like anything I've seen in whatever.
That's what I was going to say. It's one of those, it's wholly unique.
Yeah.
There's not a single thing like it, and I think that's so cool.
I think before I watched the film, I might have clicked on your review, and sometimes I do this where I'm like, I'll see what Jack's written, and I'm like, I don't want to see what Jack's written because I don't want to know too much about the film. And one of the opening lines was something like, this feels like an entirely different world. Yeah. And I actually don't think I believed it when I read that. And then I went and watched the film, and I was like, oh, it's an entirely different world. Because you can see where it relates. It's like watching His Dark Materials, where you have like these universes that are quite close together. Because I mean, in that I think it's literally Oxford, and then in Poor Things it is also Oxford that you see that Willem Dafoe works in. Which is supposed to be Glasgow.
Oh yeah.
Where's Scotland? Anyway,
I don't mind it because they go all over the place and it creates that world. But
it's not a huge thing to me. But like the Scotland erasure is. I'm not here for that. So yeah, you can see where we relate in some ways, and then it is just this like completely by itself. It's crazy. Anyway,
and it would be on my list had I not seen it in Venice. But it's spectacular, and it stayed with me. I mean, I saw it September of 2023,
so a good chunk before me.
Yeah, and then rewatched it like in January or something, because I was desperate to rewatch it, and still now, if someone had it on, I'd sit and watch. So good.
Poor Things, for me, I think I saw it because I just wanted to, and then that was not that long before the Oscars.
Yeah.
And I've realized I'd seen a couple of films, and that I thought I'd seen a lot of really great films that came out in the previous year. Is that made me really want to watch more films to catch up, to actually see what they like, watch all the nominations for the Best Picture, which I think says a lot for a film. If that film was the one that made me go, oh, this previous year's had a lot of great films, then that says a lot for, I guess the director being able to do that, to put my mindset in such a way that's like, oh, I would like to rediscover a lot of film that I've missed.
Yeah, it's like, if everything else is as good as this, I want to watch them. Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. My number 3 is my bronze medal is The Holdovers. God, such a good movie. To me, it is a Christmas classic, and it will be played every Christmas, maybe. We watched it this year. Actually, UK film distribution, I'm going to go after you again. It came out in December for, like, the US. Yeah. It is a Christmas movie, and then we had to wait until, like, January to see it, and then Christmas is gone. So actually watching it at Christmas this time, I was like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be enjoyed. As you said, like, just these 3 people coming together who are they don't have much in common at all, but they do. And that's the whole point of it. This, like, found family.
Sure.
Oh, I love that. Like, as a trope in cinema, though, like, banding together, and actually family isn't necessarily people that you're, like, the family you're born into, but the people you find along the way and stuff. It's so lovely. I truly think it is one of the strongest screenplays to come out in a while. Like, the characters are so well realized. It's tight, but you understand who the 3 of them are so well. Paul Giamatti's character is, like, he could so easily slip into, like, curmudgeon-y old man, and that's all he is, but, like, there's far more to him.
Yeah, that's how you view him from the student's perspective to begin with.
Yeah, of course.
Until they kind of, like, all go away, and then you actually start to uncover who this character really is.
The whole thing of, like, him smelling.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Like, it's played as a joke a little bit at the start, and then they have this, like, serious conversation in the car when I don't know, the kid, which can't remember his name, opens up to him, and then he opens up to him as well, and it's like, oh yeah, it's a thing I've had with me all my life, I know it. And you're like, oh, something that's been used as a joke throughout the start of the movie. You're like, oh, how would that feel to be like that throughout your entire life? The scene where, like, actually rewatching it, I didn't realize how subtle this scene is when he finds his depression medication and then realizes he has the same medication. It's just in that scene. He never has this big, like, oh, we have the same medication and we're both sad, and he just, like, starts to treat him a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Like, things like that, like, understanding humans and, like, realizing that everybody's going through something, and, like, being empathetic towards each other. It's glorious. And I honestly think Divine Joy Randolph, it gives genuinely, like, the best supporting performance ever. I really don't know. It's truly phenomenal. I think when I first watched it, I was really emotionally affected by her character, and I assumed she had a bigger role than she actually does. Because rewatching it, she's actually not in a lot of scenes.
Oh, for me, in my head, I mean, I do remember old man and young man being the 2 main kind of characters within the film.
Yeah.
But I remember her having such a massive part.
Same.
Because it's the whole thing with her son.
Yeah. And it's so subtle. She's just in a few scenes, but she's just so emotionally affecting. She's a real person. Like, so well realized. You understand the pain that she is going through.
What awards show did she win the supporting?
She won everything. She, like, landslided the entire award season.
Because I remember watching one time that she won, and it was, like, the best thing ever seeing her win that award.
Was that the Oscars? Because we would have watched that.
It probably was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just you felt for her, but it's so deserving. Truly, she stuck with me as a performance in my head that like I go to for good performances, and then just rewatching it, seeing how little she's in it, it's like, wow, you really did a lot then with what you were given. Um, Lovely, lovely movie and beautiful, as we were saying. That like 70s period PC-ness of it, which I also think works in favor of the story, like this isolationism. Like you could do that now, but I think people are isolated in far different ways. Like we have devices on us that can connect us with anybody,
Yeah.
but back then being isolated, very different feeling.
Yeah, it's a different kind of isolation.
Yeah.
Because back then, isolation also meant like you were literally alone.
And then
You're not like necessarily alone nowadays, but you're lonely.
and the setting of it being like a boarding school in the middle of like Boston or Massachusetts, and there's snow everywhere. Like you really feel this.
It's almost like The Shining.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, what a double bill.
Yeah, yeah.
Cheery.
Yeah. Which order do you watch it in?
Shining first, and with the holdovers.
Well, that depends.
What, you want to be happy than scared?
Yeah, do you want a horrifying night?
This is in the top two. I think we have the same top two.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the order of yours though.
Well, I see. I have an arrow going to like between them, like because I don't know which one should be number one.
Okay,
for
I'm
me.
the same way.
Do you actually have the same thing?
I literally have flipped them as the years went by on my ranked list. I have settled on one. Easily could be either.
Also, I'd rather just hear you rant about them and jump in, because if we both got the same two, I'd rather just have.
No, I want to. You do your. No, do your number two.
Are we not doing? I want to just do my number one and two.
You want to do them at the same time?
But well, I can like jump into one, but instead of going like, oh, this might be my number one, and then have to wait for the number one.
Oh, because you really don't know what your number one is.
Yeah, I really don't know what it should be. So currently, I have June Part 2, and the number one is Challengers.
Okay, I have the exact same.
The reason I have it like that is
Yeah.
because I have seen June Part 2 twice, and those were both in the cinema. But those were towards the start of the year when it actually came out.
Yeah.
Like that was within like 2 weeks. So actually, when I try and think about the plot of June 2, I just remember like the visuals and like the sound design and like performances and things. I don't necessarily think about like what was actually happening within the story.
Mm-hmm.
Challengers I've now seen 3 times this year, like spread throughout the year as well, starting in June. It's not your birthday.
Yeah.
So I've seen it like a healthy spread, and like every time I enjoyed it, and every time it just kind of like flies by. So I don't know which should be which way around.
Yeah.
Like I said, June Part 2, visuals insane. I have a favorite scene from that film, which is literally the first time that you're watching Paul Atreides try and get on the worm.
Oh, sure.
And there's a point where it's not even just a favorite scene; it's a favorite shot. You hold on him standing on the sand dune as the worm like comes towards him, and it's just like you can just kind of like see the sand burrowing. Is that billowing in the wind? Like as the worm comes towards him, and that shot I feel is like 20 seconds long. Like you just hold on it watching it, and you can feel the tension of the moment because you're like, he's gonna do it. Like he is the protagonist of the story, but like, what if he doesn't? What if he fails? Like, what if he screws up? This thing's huge. Like, it's scary. And then you're cutting back to everyone being like, "Oh, this is
Lisa Nalgai."
Yeah, or the Shai Hulud or whatever. And it's like it's the biggest worm. We haven't seen one this big in like however long. And you're like, you do feel stressed out for that character. And then you also get the Harkonnen planet, like the black and white.
Getty Prime, because I wrote this down.
Getty Prime. See, I don't have any notes. I'm just trying to like riff off what I'm literally just talking off the top of my head.
I know I wrote that down specifically because that cinematography, the colorized shot, and then going into the black and white.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
yeah. Like it is exceptional because you get. I think the first time I watched it, I was kind of confused by, what the black and white necessarily meant.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you end up inside their building, their home or whatever, and you are back in color, and then when they go out into the arena, that's when you see the black and white again. I'm pretty sure there's fireworks at some point too.
Yes,
which do have color.
No, they're like black blots.
Yeah, like ink blots.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get new characters in this film. You got Florence Pugh in this film, who's also great.
She's
She
brilliant.
has some brilliant fits.
Brilliant fits.
Yeah. God, I don't know what else there is. And
Austin Butler.
Austin Butler, his performance is excellent.
Crazy. I really wish like little supporting performances like that would get recognition. Like, he's terrifying in that movie. It's brilliant.
We've also got the Skarsgård, Bill.
Bill? Oh no, which one?
The
Stellan.
Yes, Stellan
Yes.
Skarsgård. Bill, I'm thinking Bootstrap Bill. Also excellent films. He's still brilliant in this.
Yeah.
Love his character from the last one. Although, will he be in the next one?
Spoilers. I'll just jump in as well.
Yeah, because
this is also my number 2. I saw it 5 times in the cinema.
Yeah.
Looking back
5?
today, 5. They were also all in the same month.
Jesus, I mean, I actually did know that within like the span of 2 months, you'd watched about 4 times because I was looking through Letterboxd yesterday.
Yeah.
But I didn't like sit and count the weeks to make sure that it was all in the same month. You're an insane person.
Yeah, I know. I genuinely was blown away by like the feelings I got watching that movie. It feels actually criminal to put this at number 2.
I know.
Like,
that's the thing between that and Challengers. Like, this is the big event one.
yes.
So this feels like it should be a number 1.
Yeah. But we'll get to Challengers.
Yeah.
I really have to give credit to Villeneuve. I love part 1. I really do. I think I like the structure and I like it ending where it does.
I like it less and less as time goes on.
Really? Even with part 2 being out?
Yes.
Interesting.
I think it like overshines part 1. And then you just kind of like...
sure.
And you would think that it being a part 1 and part 2 makes you forgive part 1 for being like half a story.
Yeah.
But I think it just kind of like shows it up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You don't feel like it's complete. You feel like they are 2 separate movies, but the part 2 is better.
Yeah, just allows part 2 to pick up where it does.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think it follows on from part 1 of being like blockbuster storytelling in a way that blockbusters have been missing out on for a while. Like, the depth of characters it's afforded in a blockbuster is so cool to see, especially in part 2. I think Paul gets so much more in his arc, because he does have that arc at the start of part 1, but then it is just like battle for the back half of part 1 and you lose his arc, I guess. But in this one, it's this through line of him becoming the Lisan al-Gaib. And it weirdly tackles like religion in like a profound way, I think. Like,
what do you mean by profound?
Like his devotees and people trusting in him and this figurehead.
Oh.
And that absolving, he does like wrong things. I mean, where this ends as well, and it's going towards the holy war. Like, he's not a good figure, but he's almost like a religious figure to the people of Arrakis. And also Chani, Zendaya.
Zendaya's performance is excellent.
Excellent. Like, because she isn't given a lot in part 1, and she, like, there's so much on her face in this movie. Her reactions, you understand Paul more because of her, I think, and also doing so you understand her. But you get to the ending, and when it's that fight between him and Phaedratha, but you're like cutting back to Zendaya's face, you're interested in how Chani feels about this just as much.
Interesting thinking about that and then Challengers.
I know. Zendaya is on top of our top 10.
We stand Zendaya.
Is Zendaya in our stand book? I would say so.
I'm gonna give her more time.
You're gonna give her more time?
Yeah. I mean, actually, well, Euphoria, Spider-Man, June Challenge. Yeah, she's in the stand book.
Okay. So we got Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, and Zendaya. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Can I also include Greg Fraser, the cinematographer?
Oh, sure.
Great. He's in.
Yeah. I thought we were just doing... Did we have a separate stand book?
Is it one stand book for all, or...?
One stand book for all.
I think we just keep them in the same stand book.
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. His cinematography in this these places don't exist.
Oh, sure.
Like, that's what blows my mind.
Well,
Sorry, I mean, obviously they shoot on location and stuff, but like,
yeah.
his mind on how to shoot things, the opening scene of like that deep orange with like the harsh black shadows, incredible. Like, there's multiple shots that just stick in my brain. The arena scene is phenomenal.
Yeah, mine is also, when you said the opening, them floating up towards
Yes,
the rock,
yeah.
which is kind of sinister and also a little bit laughable. There's
Oh,
a part
totally.
it's like, oh, there's these helium balloon people, but like I think it's that visual is almost like a confusion to it because you know how heavy and brute force the kind of Harkonnens are.
Yeah.
And you see them like gliding up to this rock.
But like creative ways of shooting things like that.
Yeah.
And then also contrasting that with like how intimate he gets with characters. You know, as much as these big, wide, colorful shots stick in my brain, also particular shots of characters do, like Chani at the end. Florence Pugh's reaction when she like picks up the scroll and then she she's shocked, sticks in my brain. I just think it's a world that is so well realized. He didn't just create he didn't just create movies, he created a world and like an epic with that. I think it's beyond, it's up there with Star Wars and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. It's like, it's a bit like I think it's more like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
People
better.
have said it's like the Lord of the Rings of our generation, which is quite cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already into spin-offs, so
Yeah, that's crazy. Which we
Yeah.
haven't finished.
finished. Yeah,
But we will get
we
around to it.
will.
And then maybe we can talk about it here.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to our number one?
Our number one. So our number 1 and 2 actually are the same.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, Challengers. Watched it 3 times, love it every time. We have different perspectives on things because I know who I stand by in that story and who is the most, I wouldn't say innocent because that's a strong word and that's not true, but the most morally true person
Oh God.
that compared to the other two. That's shot, I want to say funnily. The way that
Yeah.
the way that you just like follow a tennis ball across the court and things, but it works. You're in the action. Again, the music's funny, but it works. Like a lot of the film is just quirky, I think.
Yeah.
But it works for me.
It's got weird. It's weird.
Yes.
It's a weird movie. I also want to say it's sexy.
Yeah.
And not in like a sexy. I don't know what that means. In a way that I don't think cinema's been sexy in a while. Like you had this whole period of like sex in movies,
Yeah.
but like that doesn't constitute a movie being sexy and like the feelings that you get with that. This movie's about tennis. There's like light bits of sex, I guess, but it's just oozing like sexuality and like sensuality
Sure.
in a way that I can't point to any other movies recently that are like that evocative.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
And I think that's cool. Like you have a filmmaker that is able to tell this story about tennis and also like pair it with sexiness in a way that shouldn't work, but it does.
Sure.
I think I was talking about screenplays for The Holdovers. This genuinely just might be one of my favorite screenplays like ever. I've watched it. I've watched it 6 times.
Mm-hmm. Double the amount, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, really like this movie because the screenplay is so sharp. I think you can. Zendaya said this in like an interview. You have to watch it 3 times, and the 3rd time you'll walk away, and you'll be like, "I trust this person. This person was in the wrong." I just keep going back to it, and I'm like, I don't know who I trust, and I feel like there's such layers to these 3 characters that you can sit and unpack the more you watch it.
Truly. It is funny though, because like I'm the indecisive one, but I know who I stand by.
I'm also indecisive.
I'd say you're relatively decisive.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
From an outside perspective.
Gosh.
I guess not though. I've changed my mind. You've watched the Challenger 6 times and you can't decide who the hell you think is in the right.
Oh, would you like to do a defense?
Oh, Art Donaldson is in the right. Absolutely. He's the only one that doesn't cheat. Case in point.
Well, see, okay.
There's a little bit of manipulation on his part.
Yes.
Which is awful. But, like, it's not... If you can say words, like, that few amount of words, that just kind of, like, derail a relationship wouldn't last anyway.
Whoa. What
Should be stronger than that.
But he's a mastermind. He's, like, manipulated his two friends and weaseled them out so he can weasel his way in.
I think manipulated, whilst true, makes it sound much stronger than, like, how it actually is. Sure. He goes to lunch with one of them and says something. And then...
He goes to lunch with Tashi and he's like implying that Patrick doesn't love her. And then she's like, oh, so he's seeing other girls on tour, and he doesn't deny it.
But then what does he say to Patrick? Like, what does he...
That's the churro scene. And he's like, oh, you're riled up about my girlfriend. And...
he barely says anything to either
okay.
of them. And they fall apart.
I think it's one of these movies though that's really interesting because you can point to so many different moments that are like the inciting incident.
Yeah, sure.
Like you could point to the hotel scene, and you could say that Patrick starts this because he reveals him and Art and their situation.
Yeah.
But then I feel like there's so many other instances you can talk about, like him at uni, you know, weaseling his way in there, and then like shouting at Patrick when Patrick comes to help Tashi. And I just think there's so much to chew on, and I think it's really impressive that it does this over such a massive span of time. Like when you think about it, you just see them at random pockets, but there's such a strong through line, and you know where their feelings are at different bits.
If you make it really shallow, you could just be like, oh, guys being guys, fighting over a girl to begin with.
Well, it's much deeper than that.
Yeah. But then but as the inciting incident is what I mean. Like it literally is just the two of them, one of them grabbing the other one's leg. Does that happen?
That does happen.
Like that early on? Yeah.
Oh, you think it just happens when they're watching her play?
Yeah.
You could argue that.
Sure. They're both like interested, and then that's
but
it.
Patrick's in love with Art, so
yeah.
And Tashi's in love with nobody.
Yeah, it's literally... God, is Patrick the most hard done by in that film? He's got the biggest heart.
Yeah. And the biggest dick.
Is that staying in?
Why not? They say it in the movie. I'm not being wrong.
Did they say it in the film?
Yeah, it's like, oh, you think you can come in here swinging your big dick?
Oh, and did they mention that twice?
They do, because Tashi's like, what do you want? Do you want like a partner, a fuck buddy? You're good looking. You got a big dick. You'll find somebody. Yeah. Challengers. Yeah. The performances are incredible.
Yeah.
Which I feel like doesn't even need to be said, but the three of them are phenomenal. The way they can play like nuanced characters.
Yeah, especially well, there's one scene with Josh O'Connor where you have them in the kind of sauna, and they're bouncing off of each other, and then Mike Feist's character like actually hurts Josh O'Connor, and you can see him get quite sad. And then there's also the scene with Zendaya and Mike Feist, but like on the bed, and she's like, "You have to win tomorrow," and basically, if that doesn't happen, then they're going to split up.
Yeah, and
you can see how upset they both are about it.
Totally, you just in different ways as well. Yeah. Like scenes like that as well. The way they're shot, like the flashy, fun cinematography is great. Like where you become a ball and you're like smacked back and forth, or like the really cool one that's like the underneath, like you're the court.
Yeah.
But then the little bits of like that scene in particular on the bed where it's shot at like high and low angles, and like Art is clearly like powerless compared to Tashi, and that's communicated just through like the camera. Stuff like that I just feel like really makes this as special as it is.
Yeah.
So good.
Truly.
Is that in our top 10? I
think so.
Wow.
It only took us like
an hour and a half.
Yeah.
We got there.
So now we have the quick fire questions at the end.
Do you want honorable mentions?
Oh. Good point.
Yeah. How many honorable mentions do you have?
This just two.
Okay.
One of them's an honorable mention for the top 10. One of them is just an honorable mention as a film that existed this year.
Oh, cool. Like one that maybe just went
Not
under the radar or
unnoted,
something?
not under the radar because people will have seen it, but like you find out when we get there.
Okay.
One of the ones that I didn't include in my top 10, which just did get knocked off, is The Hitman.
Oh, yeah.
It was excellent. I don't think I appreciated it as much when I was watching it,
Yeah.
and then walked away from it, and then I just kind of kept thinking about it.
Sexy movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So we have 2 sexy films from this year.
Wow.
And then my other honorable mention is The Fall Guy, because
Oh.
just having appreciation for like stunt people in general,
Huh.
kind of like the fact that just doesn't happen. Obviously, they had that small segment of the Oscars at the start of the year.
Yep.
But like it just doesn't. There's been so many incidents that like so many. I mean, I only can name 2 off the top of my head, but it's like the Daniel Radcliffe's stunt double, and I don't know if it was Deathly Hallows or like Half Blood Prince. It was like one of the latter films.
Mm-hmm.
He essentially became like paralyzed from the waist down, I think, and he would have only been in like his 20s, maybe 30 or something. So like that man's life is ruined, or not ruined. That's maybe harsh, but changed for the rest of his life, because I do think he has a pretty good outlook on life. So I think he's doing pretty well now, but that's awful. And also Back to the Future 2, where the skateboards are going across the water. They go up for some reason. I think they go up a ramp or something, or they try and maybe avoid the truck full of shit, and they go up through the glass window in the courthouse, I think, and they all fall through it. And the shot is from the inside of the courthouse, the 3 of them coming through it. And I think there was a stuntman in that like got quite hurt from that.
Ooh.
And for that reason, they kept the stunt in the film. But like, I don't know how bad it was. I think it was not great. So that stuff happens all the time and just doesn't get mentioned. So I think even though this film just like was about a stuntman or whatever, and I don't know how much of that they actually showed, it's still incredible to have a film with some people, I think.
Totally. Yeah. And also, it felt weird because they did that bit at the Oscars, obviously for promo for their movie. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they've not announced that stunts will be a category getting added to the Oscars.
I don't think so.
Which is bizarre.
Yeah. Especially because we have one for visual effects. And you know me, I love visual effects, big visual effects guy. But like that's relatively new. We've had special effects for ages.
Yeah.
Visual effects are newish in terms of like decades.
Sure.
But some people have been around since the beginning.
Yeah, you're so right.
And they don't get mentioned as much.
Or like you could even like classify choreography in that, like dance
100%,
and stuff.
yeah.
And that, I mean, musicals have been around.
Yeah, it's still like health and safety that goes into all that
Yeah.
stuff. It's still a stunt.
Yeah.
I think people don't appreciate like how little actions are stunts. I remember watching Doctor Who behind the scenes, and it was Matt Smith's character has to roll down the stairs in like the Big Bang episode, just like roll down a set of stairs. As a child watching that, I think as a child you're a bit invincible and you just throw yourself about all the time. I was like, why is that a stunt? As an adult, I'm like, absolutely, there is a stunt person for Matt Smith rolling down the stairs. So, yeah, they're everywhere and they don't get enough appreciation.
Love that. Now I'm like, I have like a list of all my movies, but like the ones that didn't reach inside my like top 10 are kind of ones that you mentioned. But I guess I will shout out The Greatest Hits, which is a movie that I feel like nobody saw and I feel like really deserves to be seen. I think abroad it's on Hulu, but for here it was Disney Plus, so just straight streaming movie about this girl who her boyfriend dies, and if she listens to music that when she was in her relationship they listened to, it will transport her back in time to the moment that they were listening to that song. So she discovers that she has this power. It's one of those what's the word that's used? It's like a small bit of sci-fi,
like light, like soft sci-fi.
Yeah, like the only sci-fi element is that she can randomly transport through time, but it's not like a sci-fi movie, and it's never really addressed why she can do that. She's just like, I can, but I discovered it, and it's just stunning. She goes back to try and stop her boyfriend dying, because it's a car crash, and she finds moments where like she could prevent him from dying, but nothing works. I don't really want to say more than that. That's how the film starts, and it becomes this like really gorgeous tale on like love and loss and that kind of stuff. It's really it's for a straight to streaming movie. It's really spectacular.
Was it on Disney Plus?
Disney Plus.
I think I can remember seeing the banner for it or something.
Well, it's got Superman, the new Superman in it.
Oh.
He's the boyfriend. There's another guy in it who is Justin H. Min, I think his name is, and I think he's in the Umbrella Academy. I think he's the Tentacle Man.
Yeah.
And then the main girl, don't know, her name is Lucy Boynton. Spectacular, really good. So highly would recommend that. And also, Love Lies Bleeding. Such a good movie. Really, it was up in like my top few movies earlier in the year. It just got pipped out. But I like queer stories that are not about queerness. They just happen to be.
Yeah.
And I also think it's gory and brutal and really...
Yeah, there's like some transformation sequences.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like... It's a little bit like the knee snapping scene in
Challengers.
Yeah.
Goriest moment of the year. Truly. Yeah, just one of those ones that like I feel like kind of came and went. But really good movie.
Sweet.
Nice.
You just got 2?
I could go on forever.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you only give 2.
Do you want me to keep going?
You could shoot through like 3 and not give like that stuff.
I'll do another 3 then.
Yeah, but just like
okay, Iron Claw. That was a this year movie for us.
I haven't seen them, so I really want to see it.
Final scene. Woof. Oh, the brutal, just absolutely brutal. Lovely movie. His 3 daughters. Again, one of these ones that just dropped on a streaming service that I feel like nobody watched. It's 3 daughters. Their dad is dying, so they come back to his apartment and they live with him as he's passing away. It's Elizabeth Olsen, Natasha Lyonne, and Carrie Coon. Some of the best performances all year. It's just 3 of them in a room, like for the whole runtime. Really sad, but like gorgeous as well. And then I'm gonna end on a bloody big movie, but Inside Out 2.
I did wonder if that was gonna make it in.
Yeah, there's other movies that are like smaller that I'd be like, oh
wait, do we?
let me say that, but Inside Out 2 is there.
We both have an animated film in our top 10. I think that's quite nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Animation is cinema.
It is, and I think it gets forgotten about a lot as well. So
Inside Out 2 was just like, oh, have you ever experienced anxiety? You'll enjoy this movie. Really enjoyed it. Fun. So that's our top 10. We thought we'd end this episode just with like a little fun game kind of thing. Like a get to know us, since this is our first episode. So we've each wrote 5, yeah?
6.
6. Wow, I'll add another.
You could also just not. You don't have to have 6.
No, I'll add 6. Because 11's a weird number for questions. We're going to ask each other 6 questions each that
we can do it back and forth.
Back and forth?
Yeah.
And then we'll flip.
What's that?
And you'll ask me mine and I'll ask you yours?
No.
No?
No.
We're just asking each other
questions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're just going to ask each other questions, which are kind of film and TV related, which you can...
Yeah, which relate to you more than the film. So it's like, what's your favorite whatever?
Yeah. So you can get kind of an idea of who we are and which one is cooler.
Great. That's fun. Which one's cooler?
Yeah.
These are very quick fire questions.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's gonna be quick fire, but then we will discuss our answers after in case we want to.
Yeah, and instead of going into like explain your answer to this question, I do want this to be quick fire, so let's just have like a messy conversation about like defending ourselves.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
So am I gonna ask you or are you gonna ask me first?
Okay, my first one's very basic. Let's go with the favorite film of the last decade.
Oh, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That was quick. My God. Okay, cool.
It was quick fire.
Yeah.
Favorite performance by an actress.
Oh God. It could be Emma Stone in Poor Things.
Hmm?
That's just off the top of my head. Go with that.
Cool. Don't think on it. Don't think on it.
Favorite actor, director, and film. Go.
Favorite actor, director, and film.
Yeah.
My favorite film's La La Land. My favorite director at the moment, I would say Guadagnino.
Oh, fair.
And my favorite actor. Do you want male actor?
Oh no, that actor is umbrella term.
Oh, Kate Blanchett.
Cool.
I think.
Cool.
Oh, I don't know if I stand by that. Okay. Favorite character on TV.
Oh, the Doctor.
Oh.
Yeah, of course, Doctor Who. I mean,
Yeah. I didn't even think you'd say that. I was thinking about someone from How I Met Your Mother.
Right. Yeah. What was the oldest film you've seen? Did you like it and why?
Oh, I had this conversation recently. I think it's The Wizard of Oz.
Wow, that's newer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, 1939.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything prior to that, which is odd. I did. I like The Wizard of Oz.
Mm.
I think there are. We've spoke about this. There's
Yes.
elements that are dated, like the whole mentality behind it. But I enjoy it.
What's one aspect? Because one of the questions was why. So one aspect.
One aspect. I mean, it is magical watching it go to Technicolor.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Like even now.
Yeah.
And especially actually watching Wicked, where like the coloring is a big issue with that. And you go back and like these soundstage sets or whatever they were are just as vibrant and lively. It's
Cool.
Film you hate which other people love.
I hate that other people like hate.
Yeah.
I actually can't. Do you have an answer for me for this? Because I don't think I have a film.
I don't. No, I don't think I do.
Last year I watched Killers of the Flower Moon and I was like very uninterested and bored. And that was like a Martin Scorsese film that everyone blew up and thought it was fantastic and things. I'm not concrete in that opinion because I'd like to rewatch it and decide for myself. But that, yeah, I'd say
that's what comes to mind.
That's the top of the mind one. Yeah.
Okay.
This is gonna be a difficult one for you. Your biggest guilty pleasure film? And I said I know you struggle with this because you were like, oh, I don't have guilty pleasure films.
Yeah.
So.
I do stand by the fact that I don't have guilty pleasure films because I'm not guilty about liking anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess then it would be in the vein of like something which is technically bad. Oh, Cars 2.
Absolutely.
Because I stand by. It's not an awful movie.
Haven't seen it, which you know. But for them, I haven't seen it, so I can't even be like.
Yeah, you can't
it
defend.
Is an awful film.
We should watch that.
Yeah, maybe.
It's me. Favorite show. I
feel like I can't say this because I already went with the Doctor. It should be
favorite show of the last decade.
Game of Thrones. Even with the ending, absolutely loved it.
Oh, yeah. Well, what year did Game of Thrones start?
It started in 2010 or 11, but it finished in 2019.
Yeah. So in the last decade, it's the back half of that show.
No, because it can because it overlapped in there. It's just the whole show is included in that show. Okay. You're just gonna be like, yeah, you like the last two seasons of that show, right? No,
I also wanted you to just go Doctor Who, the Jodie seasons and Shinigama. Love it.
No, I mean, a real answer is Doctor Who, but like, let's go with Game of Thrones. Just because I can't think of something off the top of my head that. Because there's definitely something more recent that I probably watched. Mr. Robot's great. Mr. Robot is also there. Yeah. How I Met Your Mother as well, but then that finished 2014. So we're almost just out.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't give a million answers to the question. Call Me by Your Name or Challengers, Only One Can Live.
What? That's really mean.
I know.
Oh. No, Challengers, because I've got Call Me by Your Name's a book.
Fantastic workaround.
Thank you. And also, I do think Challengers is his better movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Obviously haven't seen Call Me by Your Name, so cannot comment.
Yeah. I know what I changed on last week because that was a really good one. Favorite cinema experience?
What did we go? Oh, Deadpool Wolverine was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you wanna say why?
It's just it was a packed cinema. It wasn't even opening
In Spain.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. We watched it in Madrid because that's just where we were when it was on, and it was excellent. Endgame was a good one. Oh, I'm trying to think of ones where like I've had like an atmosphere, and I actually struggling because we don't get that much of an atmosphere where we are. So
Deadpool Wolverine was crazy.
Yeah.
Like packed Spanish cinema, and they were rowdy.
a lot of laughter.
So much, yeah. I weirdly think it made me enjoy that movie more, and then watching it back, it has dampened my experience. Like, 'cause it was so good the first time watching it.
Also, the film's just definitely not going to hold up the second time.
Yes,
because it is an event film, which it is an event film, and obviously those normally don't stand out as much the next time around. I think there are exceptions to that. I mean, Endgame's an event film, and I do think that still hits home.
Yeah.
Especially when you give it a good amount of time before watches, because I haven't watched that since like 2020 or something.
Yeah.
My last question is a doozy. This podcast, and therefore you, become incredibly successful, except going forward you can only see every film once. So like there's films that you've seen already, you can watch them one other time, but like every film from this point forward you can only watch once.
And what's the question?
That is the question. This becomes successful, you become successful, but you can only see each film once.
So I have to choose, would I rather rewatch movies or this be successful and watch movie once?
Yeah.
That's really difficult.
Yeah.
So all the movies I've seen currently, I get another go.
You get another go at them.
Oh, I think that's okay then.
Yeah.
I think that's okay. Maybe it makes it more special as well. You can't rewatch films.
It might, but imagine the mind-bending ones. Like Tenet, you're just never going to like, because you can never
I can never understand it.
Yeah.
Wow, wait, this is way more involved.
Yeah.
I don't know. Right. Let's say this gets successful. That's going to be my answer, because you unlock cooler like screenings, I guess.
Yeah.
With that, I've been to some cool screenings before, but like, I don't know.
Can I make this funnier as well?
Go.
You can still go to all of those screenings. So say you get like two.
Oh, stop that.
You get two. You get like two screenings for the same film.
Yeah.
But the second time you watch it, you can't see the film. So it's like a black screen. There's no volume. So you're sitting in a silent room of darkness from your perspective, and everyone else is watching this film around you.
What? So I have to make that.
You have to pretend that you're like experiencing life normal.
Oh, so it's just like acting at that
Sorry,
point.
you don't have to go through all that. But like, you could still go to that screening. You just like, you'd either have to just dip out before the film started, or you'd have to like sit in and not be able to watch a film.
So what you're saying is the first screening's just normal, and then this big event one, I get to go to the event, but I don't get to see the movie?
Yeah, I mean, technically you could go in and try and watch the screen, but nothing would happen. You can't get around it. But you still go to those events and stuff. It's just you know.
This is... do you know what? I actually maybe would pick rewatching stuff, because it is a little bit of like how I show love with people as well, is through media. And I feel like that would drive me nuts, being like, I really like this thing and I want to experience it with you, and then not being able to do that. I mean, part of the reason I watched, literally Dune Challengers were like my main rewatches of the year. But part of the reason I did was because I wanted to experience that with different people.
Yeah.
Or like in different configurations and stuff. Of people.
I think you chose the correct answer. Imagine this becomes successful. Like, great. The whole like watching something once. You're talking about films. Well, you get to watch the film once, and then you have to like draw stuff from that. Then someone asks you about the film 5 years later, and you're just looking at notes. Like,
yeah, you have no idea what happened. Yeah. And I sometimes think that rewatching's far rewarding. This was a really funny quick fire question.
Yeah. Oh, I left it for the last one because I knew it was going to be a doozy.
Oh, smart. Okay.
Yeah.
If you were on a desert island,
okay,
and you can only take one movie and one show with you, what would you take?
Doctor Who, obviously.
Okay.
The film's a tricky question.
Yeah.
Because a show you can brute force it and be like, oh, I'll just take the. Again, I mean, I'm at an advantage where like my favorite one is one where I have like a back catalog, a ton of stuff.
Mm.
The film is a film, and you can't do the same thing. I can't be like Lawrence of Arabia saying 4 hours of a film. Like you want like an absolute banger.
Shade to Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh no, it's still great, but it's slow. It's not like, you know, I don't know how much rewatchability there is in Lawrence of Arabia on a desert island. You can watch it once a year and love it, but
then you're surrounded by sand as well. Maybe you don't want that.
do I just go with something really basic? I could easily go like Back to the Future, Into the Spider-Verse, like something that's just kind of like childish and fun. And it might be one of them too. I guess I have to decide on which one.
I'm leaving in this silence.
And that's all, folks. I'll go with Into the Spider-Verse.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cinema experience.
I might.
You speaking about cinema experiences?
For
Into the
you, it
Spider-Verse.
may have been a great one.
No, the
bro.
orchestra.
Oh, that's not a cinema.
You don't classify that as a cinema experience?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we watched Into the Spider-Verse. No, Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes, Across.
With
Sorry.
an orchestra a couple of months. July. No. The back end of August, like after we got back from Madrid.
Yeah.
Excellent. Not a cinema experience.
Wow. Okay. Fair.
Yeah. My other film that I might have chosen there is Arrival. I love Arrival.
Ooh.
Yeah, I actually might choose that one because then I get the fun goofiness from Doctor Who, and then like this really like
It's cerebral.
Yeah.
And it's all sci-fi.
it's also. I mean, this is showing who I am.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Away in the clouds.
Reality. What's that?
How do we outro this?
I don't know how we outro this. So what we've done is we've done a top 10 for last year and a quick fire questions.
Yep.
Going forward, do you want to explain kind of how we are planning on doing this?
Oh, sure. So each episode we're probably going to do a new release, which we'll hopefully say in the episode prior, so you can kind of watch along. I think
so you can see what it is for.
Yeah. So we're watching Nosferatu next week, which is releasing in the UK finally. I know it's been out elsewhere. And then we're probably just going to talk about other things that we've been watching throughout the week. So we'll cover TV that way.
Yeah.
I think the next big show that's releasing, I mean, we'll probably talk about Doom Prophecy because we're behind on that. But the next big show that I can think of is Severance, which I don't know if you've seen season 1.
No. Which is quite good for me, I think, because it's been a little bit of a break.
It's been such a break. I actually think you're best off doing season 1 and season 2.
Yeah.
Excellent. And there's probably others that I'm Creature Commandos,
which we're gonna have to pirate, I think.
Yeah, because DC.
I mean, we're not breaking the
law. Other stuff like that, and then we'll probably touch on some news.
Yeah.
That's going on in the film and TV world.
And they should consider themselves lucky that I haven't brought up the Doctor Who Christmas special.
Oh yeah, when Doctor Who starts, there'll probably be a dedicated segment.
We'll make it a short one.
A short segment.
Yeah, because it could be depending on how much I like the. Actually, if I dislike the episode more, I might just go off on one.
Yeah,
yeah.
And the likelihood of that is
above 50.
Sad. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, please give this a like on whatever you're watching it on.
Yeah, a follow.
Leave a review if you'd like.
That would be lovely.
Is that it?
I think that's us.
Follow us on socials. That'll be in the description. We have socials.
What, you have a social?
No, like Plot to Go.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I thought you meant extended socials.
And we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah.
Bye.